All right, everybody, welcome back again to the Planet Film Network. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I'm your other host, TJ Cornwell, and today on PFNLive, we are going to be talking about the Marvel movies that were just delayed. Blade, which was also delayed, shutting down production for temporarily, um, and talk about the MCU, and as well as I'm assuming we're going to talk about some House of Dragons as well, the most recent episode.
Absolutely, yeah. So, uh, what have you been watching? What have you been watching? What have you been
What have
reading?
I been watching?
What have you been doing?
All right. Let's see. So I just told you I'm not caught up on Andor. Unfortunately, I just haven't gotten to it.
At least this week, you're gonna get a nice 1-2 punch. You got the new episode out tonight.
It hasn't been spoiled. I don't know what happens, so like,
I feel like
I
it's
feel
kind
like,
of a hard show to spoil.
yeah. So I haven't heard anything about that. So I watched 3 movies so far, or this weekend, or this past weekend. I watched Werewolf by Night, the new Marvel MCU like 1 hour movie format. Just in general, I thought it was really good. Definitely creepy. I liked that it was a really short, sweet, concise, easy premise. Really quick to the point. I mean, they kind of had to be. They only had an hour. I thought it looked great. Loved the black and white. For a while, I was like, "Where's the werewolf?" I was like,
Yeah.
there's got to be a werewolf in here." I'm interested to see if they do anything with any of those characters going forward. I'm not really sure with the way it ended. I don't think there's really any concise, thing. Oh, what's coming next?
Yeah.
And I'm
And there was
excited
no
to see
post-credit scene.
there's no post credit scene.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they do with that format going forward. And I thought Michael Giacchino did a great job for a directing debut.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I've quit my quick review up on the channel right now. I really loved it. I really, we talked about a few weeks ago, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, about some reports coming out of early screenings of it saying that, it maybe wasn't so good or it didn't come together well. I feel like now probably my best guess is it just came down to not if you don't get it, but if this particular style or this particular thing is not for you, and I don't think it's going to be for you. But that being said, too, I've seen a lot of people, talk about how much they really like it and how much they weren't really expecting much out of that kind of format. So yeah, I think it's had a pretty positive effect. And we know, too, that like Marvel is looking to do that more and more in the future, these special presentations. Oh, your audio is out. Can you guys hear him? I don't know what happened. Well, here we
Back?
go. Yep.
That was weird. You were being
Good.
robotic a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that was my end. So,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, I don't know if you heard what I said, but they didn't really shy away from the like blood and stuff, which I thought was good. There were some brutal kills. I thought, not that
For
you could
sure.
really like see it because it's black and white, but and then it turns to color at the end. Spoiler for like 5 seconds. And then I also this weekend I also watched Hocus Pocus 1 for the first time and Hocus Pocus 2 as well, which just came out.
Oh, really? Do you
Yeah.
want to give us your quick little thoughts on Hocus Pocus 2? Because I still haven't watched it.
Yeah. I mean, just real quick on Hocus Pocus 1. I think it just missed me because I'm just older now. I wasn't a kid. So watching it, I didn't really understand the why everybody loves that movie so much, in all honesty, because I don't really think it's all that great. It's kind of just a fun Halloween movie that is has some questionable things said in it, but also for some reason, what's her name?
Bette Midler.
They made Sarah Jessica Parker have her like boobs out all the time. Don't know why. It's just like her costume. It's like I don't know why they did it. They didn't do it in the second one, but it is in the first one. So Kenny Ortega, rare miss, I will say. The second one was fine. It was like the same for me. Again, and I don't have the affinity for the first one.
Yeah.
So watching the second one, I was kind of like, okay, it's more of hocus pocus, you know. Don't really explain how they come back, because at the end of the first one, as you know, they like the reason they come back is because they had that curse when they die originally. And this one, they just kind of come back, but for like they don't have, there's no curse or anything.
Yeah, they just come back. It's not really explained.
Happens, and then they come back. Yeah, not really. The one dude, he plays the mayor. He's like one of the girls' dads. He had some funny parts. His whole like story basically is like, he's like the mayor and he's trying to, you know, promotion, run for office, blah blah blah, and then he has this like little subplot where he is invited this lady who makes these amazing caramel apples to be at his his rally, and he's like I need my caramel apple. And he gets in line, and then he has to go somewhere, and he told the person to hold his spot, and then he comes back and they didn't hold his spot.
Ugh.
Yeah, he doesn't, you know. So, you know, that's the whole thing. It's funny in some spots, but overall didn't really work for me. But again, like I said, I'm sure if you really liked the first one as a kid and you like it now, you'll probably like the second one.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I definitely have to still check it out. I mean, I definitely will. Also, the other thing it keeps throwing, honestly, the Hocus Pocus 2 coming out kind of threw me into like I somehow feel like Halloween already happened, or if I'm just remembering last year's. It feels like we just left October, not that we're like in it right now. So like I was thinking earlier, I was like, oh, there's so many of these like Halloween movies that like I haven't even really watched any this year. And then I remembered, I was like, it's only October 11th. Like there's still 20 more days until Halloween.
Right. And Halloween ends this week, this weekend.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the big. It's really the only wide release, new wide release this week. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting. But I guess some of the thing. Well, was there anything else you were watching? I think you were going on when you said Hocus Pocus.
No, that was it.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
I want to watch. I want to watch Hellraiser. I haven't gotten to it.
Is that on Hulu? Again?
Yes, correct.
Right?
New one.
Yeah, Hulu is like with that and Prey. They're like making some moves with acquiring these like legacy horror sequels. But yeah. So yeah, I've basically been watching. Well, I finished my Game of Thrones rewatch. I think I talked about that last week.
Yep.
Did I talk about that last week? That I finished it?
I don't know if you said you finished it.
Okay, well, all right. I'll give my quick thoughts on Game of Thrones as a series. Rewatch 3 years? 3 years-ish removed from the last season. We've talked about the last season in great length on this channel before. You go back 2 years on the channel, almost 2 years on the channel. You can find, I think it was like Game of Thrones Season 8 Revisited or something. It was literally like the second podcast we ever did. And we talk about it then, so I'll be interested to actually maybe go back and listen to that. But I can tell you, I had a lot of issues with like how Jaime's story ended. Oh, I didn't like how this was done. Like, I am very much in the season 8 really let me down. I mean, you and I, we went, when we used to work together at the same movie theater, we would, for a couple of the episodes, we had a bunch of people in the theater playing it, on the projector and stuff. And I think it just goes to show you that, I think at like the midpoint of that season, like it kind of stopped becoming a priority. It was like, we'll have a movie, an epic, tale of this conclusion, and then it just kind of went with every episode. So very much had that. But going back and rewatching it, rewatching all of Game of Thrones, all 8 seasons, I gotta say things really worked for me that didn't work for me last time, because I think I just did the, kind of, what do they call it? Just engage with the story you're presented, basically. It's like what people say. Like, I just watched it for what was there and what they did, as opposed to, like, the best I could. Obviously, I still had some things where I was like, ooh. But, like, not think about what I would have done. Think about just how is it with what's there. And, like, I think it started with performances, because in all of Season 8, I was like, man, Nikolai Coster-Waldau is, like, putting in the work for that Emmy, which unfortunately he did not win, because, Peter Dinklage and other people are great. But, he was putting in the work to really send this character off in the best way possible. Peter Dinklage, same thing. I also really gotta say, Isaac Hampstead Brown, who plays Bran, I actually, even though he's not in it that much, having watched 6, 7, and 8 back to back to back, and kind of revisiting fully his progression into the Three-Eyed Raven, I actually kind of like was a little more okay with it, because like I said, I literally just the 6, 7, 8 of it all, I probably watched those 3 seasons within like 5 days of each other. So I really freshly remembered every single step of Bran's journey and what happened with Max von Sydow and all that stuff. And so when he did have these moments, like in one of the episodes when he's just sitting in the courtyard and Sam comes up to him at one point and is like, hey, do you want to come help me with something? And he's like, no, I'm waiting for a friend. And then at the very end of the episode is Jamie turning up, and then it's just the two of them looking at each other, and then the episode ends. Like that to me, I was like, that got me like excited. I think that was episode 2 of season 8. But yeah, a lot of it worked for me a lot better, and I think a lot of it comes down to, I really did realize that all these choices, and I'm completely saying including Bran becoming king, all these choices I think would have worked perfectly fine if they had the time to breathe. I think that's really all it just came down to, was them going, all right, we're going to wrap up the show, but we're going to wrap up the whole show in just 13 episodes. I think that was just the biggest flaw. Not what the wrap up of the story was, but just how much they truncated everything. In my opinion, I think that's what really makes it suffer, because being a huge Game of Thrones fan, I know you are, like a lot of our friends, massive Game of Thrones fans. I gotta say, the plot stuff for me worked this time around. It really just came down to the execution. So those are just my quick thoughts, I guess, on revisiting Game of Thrones as a series. I think probably at this point, I would say House of the Dragon is off to a even faster start, which, has us super excited, and we'll definitely talk more about that later. Yeah. Oh, and then the other thing that I did, hang on, I feel like I'm missing something. So I did, I won't do a full mini review or anything, but I did, I know I have said the past 3 weeks that I wasn't going to finish Dahmer, and then I was like watching at it. I did end up finishing it. I sat down with my roommate, who, I guess she fell asleep through for episode 4 or 5 or something. So basically, we both had a day off, and I just watched from episode 4 all the way to the end. And I gotta say, everything I said in that original review we did, which is up on the channel right now, I still firmly agree with. I think having watched whatever, I think it was 8 episodes or 10 episodes, sorry. So yeah, having watched 6 more episodes of it, I could say for me it does still stay in that like uncomfortable range. That thing thing I said, where it almost feels like they're not glorifying, but it just gives me a weird vibe about how they're treating all the crimes and Jeffrey Dahmer the person. Like, all the way up until, you know, his end at the end of the show. Like, he'll have these little moments where he's like doing a little like quip to himself or something, and I'm like, I don't want to hear Jeffrey Dahmer doing like a funny one-liner like in this show, or I don't want to be rooting for this guy in any way, shape, or form. So as a palate cleanser, I then, right after I finished Dahmer, we then went and watched Zodiac, which still holds up, still a fantastic movie. But yeah, I just wanted to give that Dahmer update. But the other thing that I did watch this weekend, this past weekend, I should say, was I finally went out and I finally watched Woman King. I've been watching a ton of Game of Thrones and other TV shows, and I've really been neglecting movie theaters in a customer sense. So I went out and I basically was like, all right, all my friends are telling me that Smile is really, really good. We'll talk about that in a little bit. A lot of my friends are saying how great Barbarian was, how great a lot of these horror movies that are out right now are. Still haven't seen Don't Worry, Darling, and still hadn't seen Woman King. And out of all those choices, I really was excited to watch Woman King. That really was still my number one out of all those choices. So me and my mother, we went to the show. Sorry, I'm like out of breath drinking this Red Bull.
No, you're good.
Gotta get the wings. All right. So we went to, let me see. What does that say? Hang on, sorry, my computer just said something about OBS. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I thought that the stream went down for a second. Oh my gosh. Everything just like my OBS just went like white screen for a second. All right, well, anyways, so I went out and I saw Woman King in the theaters this weekend. And I gotta say, I really loved it. I do think, if I'm just gonna get criticisms out of the way, I think 100% on the historical inaccuracies. Not that I'm any expert on that, but everything that I read up on that people were saying was wrong. What I'm basically saying is there weren't any things I was reading online that weren't true about the movie. Like, the movie does definitely touch on the tribe's, role in the slave trade in the 1800s. And it also does comment on it and everything. So that is 100% true. I know early things people were saying, like, that the movie just doesn't even address it, which is not the case. But I did think it probably could have gone a little harder into that. And then just some of the pacing issues for me. There were a couple times where I was feeling, it was a little slow. Just in a couple places throughout the movie. It is a longer movie. I mean, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. So not these crazy lengths like 3 hours, but still almost 2.5 hours. So it was pretty decent runtime. And there is, granted, there is a lot of story to cover. So that is warranted. But I really, really, really liked the movie. Other than those few criticisms, which really aren't even criticisms, I just thought that the movie was moving, and the cast, like Viola Davis, Lashana Lynch, I'll even circle back to, John Boyega, Sheila Atim, and then I'm gonna butcher her name, but Tusu Mbedu. I'm assuming that is how it's pronounced. But as Nawe in the movie, I think with all these phenomenal women in this cast, and John Boyega too, with all these phenomenal women in it, her as Nawe really, for me, stole the show. And I didn't even know that character was in it. I saw the first trailer for Woman King. I think I maybe did a reaction. I can't remember. But I liked, I'll say this. The trailer definitely got me hyped for the movie, but I didn't like the trailer itself that much, so I only watched it the one time. So I didn't even know that this younger, unknown actress was going to be in it even. So she's kind of introduced as just someone in the movie, and then really, comes to the forefront, and then really you realize it's really kind of a movie about her and Viola Davis, which I didn't know any of that going in. So I'm sure that affected my opinion too, but I absolutely loved it. I think that Viola Davis, honestly, The Help is one of my favorite movies, but I think this may be her best performance ever. I'd have to revisit a lot of her career and everything, but based off gut instinct and really just how much she spoke to me, and her performance resonated kind of off the screen, I think, in my opinion, it's probably her best performance she's ever given. And then Lashana Lynch, really, if Thuso Madubu stole the movie or became the star of the movie, Lashana Lynch stole the movie for me. I thought that she was absolutely fantastic. She was like electric on the screen every time she was there. I was rooting for her, getting emotional with some of her backstory that she's revealing, and genuinely caring about the connection between her and Nawe by the end of the movie. I thought was absolutely fantastic. Honestly, for me, Lashana Lynch really did kind of steal the whole show. And I was really emotionally moved too. There's a lot of sad things that happen in this movie. There's a lot of kind of twists and turns that I didn't even realize that the movie was going in that direction. All of which pretty much worked for me. So for me, Woman King, definitely like a huge recommend. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really, really worked for me. I mean, I know there are those criticisms of the, inaccuracies and stuff, but just the actual film itself, I really, really loved it. But yeah, so I would definitely say if it is still playing near you, go out and check out The Woman King. I'm sure give it a month or two and it'll be on, available to buy or rent or streaming or something.
Yeah. Definitely one I want to check out. I just haven't had the chance, unfortunately. But
yeah, we've been watching so much stuff for the channel, and there is so much out right now. Like, it's kind of crazy. I remember a time not even 2 months ago in August, there was just nothing out, just absolutely nothing. And now here we are in October, and we're just kind of spoiled for choice, which is, not a bad problem to have at all. All right, we're gonna cover the box office in just a minute here, but do you want to read off some of these news stories while I try to recover my voice?
Sure. Let's see. First one, Dahmer has become Netflix's second biggest English language series of all time. So, okay, that's an interesting.
I'm wrong, is what that means.
That, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's. I've seen some tweets that are like these, like people like, oh my god, and I've seen a lot of TikToks that were like, very anti. Like for me, I'm a pro. It's really there's really is this line because, like, you can be really into true crime and stuff, but then what point does it get to? It's like, we're making this and we're not really respecting the victims or the families of the victims. And
is the line.
What?
I said Chris Hansen is the line.
Oh.
If Chris Hansen is involved, then it's probably in the icky territory.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And in your opinion, this probably crosses that line, I'm gonna guess, obviously.
Yeah,
and
for me, yeah.
A lot of people I saw on TikTok, this did. And I've seen some people saying that the families did not didn't really have any say or anything like that. So I think maybe Netflix is going to do that. And I've always said one thing Netflix does really well is true crime. That's like one of their trademarks. I feel like is they're going to make a documentary or a series about any true crime thing that they can get their hands on.
100%.
And usually they'll do a pretty good job. So to me, that doesn't surprise me, but it is also kind of disappointing, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think for me, I just a little bit ago gave my kind of thoughts on the full series, but I really do think it just, like you said, it kind of tilts too far to that one end for me. But I think it's interesting nonetheless. It shows you, like what you were saying, just how big true crime is on Netflix, that it's already risen to being the second highest thing. Again, also, I always take Netflix stuff with kind of a grain of salt because it's, you know, a lot of their stuff is, is all these, you know, it's the number one movie that we've ever done that was released on May 4th or May, you know, 8th. And it's like, okay, well, like there's 365 other movies that could have been better then, but yeah, interesting nonetheless. I think if anything, it goes to just show you kind of Netflix's viewing habits and what's really trending on that platform. And I think you nailed it. All right, next up we have big cast. So with all these different release date shuffles that we'll talk about in a minute here, we do have word coming basically that A Haunting in Venice is going to be the next film in the Kenneth Branagh, you know, Agatha Christie, like Murder on the Orient Express series. And we now have the release date and the cast for that. Again, the movie's going to be called A Haunting in Venice. We're going to have Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Dornan, Tina Fey, Jude Hill, Kelly Riley, Emma Laird, Kyle Allen, Camille Cotton, Ali Khan, and Ricardo Scamerico have all been cast in there alongside Kenneth Branagh, again returning to star and direct. So what are your kind of thoughts on this? And also, I will let you know, the release date that it did take was Blade's previous release date, which is, or no, sorry, wait a minute.
Dune Part 2.
Oh, that I'm mixing up my stories here. Hang on. Hold up. Okay. So this, I believe, took Deadpool's old spot. So this is going to be coming out in 2024. But what are your kind of thoughts on this getting a third movie and some of this cast and everything? Obviously, Michelle Yeoh, everybody's putting her in everything. Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, first I'll say, like, a lot of the people listed right here, I don't recognize names very much.
Yeah, after like the first three,
probably like, probably maybe are well known, but I just don't recognize them. Like Kyle Allen or Ali Khan.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, I'm not the biggest fan of these movies. I would say I liked Death on the Nile. I liked it more than Murder on the Orient Express. I thought Orient Express was pretty boring. I think Kenneth Branagh does a good job with these movies. Did you say he is directing this one or he's not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He is? Okay. So, you know, I'd expect another, you know, good movie. I think this is becoming a trend too, you know, with the popularity of course, Knives Out as well. Obviously, Knives Out is more an original kind of story, whereas these are obviously based on books. But you know, I'm interested to see, and Haunting makes it, maybe is it a little, you know, thrillerish, spooky-ish, like,
yeah, that would be an interesting twist for me.
Yeah, and I know nothing about the Agatha Christie stories, so
yeah,
you know, it could very well not be scary at all.
Yeah, honestly, now that you bring that up, and I was sitting here thinking about it too, just looking at the title just in front of us. I was thinking, I was like, oh yeah, A Haunting in Venice. Like, I get that they're not all called blank on the blank or, you know, blank in the whatever. So I'm interested that it's kind of the first one that doesn't have that same kind of naming convention. A Haunting in Venice could it mean, you know, some kind of, maybe not ghosts or something, but like you said, maybe the tone of the movie could be a little more haunting, a little more thriller-like. I think that would be really cool. And I actually would, even though Knives Out really kind of did this, I actually would like to see maybe this movie is just set, you know, Clue style in one house or something, you know, that kind of thing. These movies, the whole point is they work well with like these confined spaces and everything. So I think that would be cool if it is just kind of this, like, everybody's locked in the mansion until they can figure out what's going on. I think that would be really cool. And Also, I do think, at least for Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Jordan, and Tina Fey, I think those are interesting as what we'd assume is probably going to be the leads in this. But I am excited that this franchise is living on past Death on the Nile after, it had so many delays itself and, so many different issues with some of the cast members and everything. I was worried that they would just kind of brush this whole franchise under the rug. Like you said, the first two for me, pretty good. Excited to get the chance of another pretty good or maybe even better movie. So, pretty exciting. Let's see here. We got more Michelle Yeoh news that her and Pete Davidson have been cast in Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe their voices, as I saw scrolling.
Oh, as Transformers.
Yes. So that should be interesting. I'm excited for another Transformers movie. Bumblebee was very good, so we'll see where they take it from there. This, I'm assuming, doesn't connect at all. I believe it's 3.
That is the rumor, yeah,
or whatever. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I am super excited for it too. I just think Pete Davidson is kind of throwing him in whatever they can throw him in to see what sticks. But also, just overall, this does kind of strike me as the same kind of thing with, I think, that last Transformers movie. In Bumblebee, they had it was Angela Bassett and somebody else. Forget who the man was. But yeah, it was these two big celebrities, and all they were just a voice. It was probably 2 or 3 days of recording lines, and you could tell in the movie. But yeah, exciting. Not really excited for the movie. Maybe excited a little bit because it's not going to be Michael Bay directly directing this one, just producing. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see if it's more Bumblebee or if it's more other ones. Next, we do have Sydney Sweeney is set to star in and executive produce a Barbarella remake for Sony. I've never even seen the first Barbarella. I know that I believe
didn't even know there was a first one.
Yeah, I think it was Jane Fonda, kind of an action, heroine, kind of old school Atomic Blonde type vibe. Right. So it'll be interesting. It seems like a role right up what Sydney Sweeney is seemingly doing with some of the roles that she's taking on and everything. And it's cool that she's going to be executive producing the project as well. So yeah, I don't really know where to fall in the excited or not column with that. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. I was just having a conversation with somebody at work today about Euphoria season 3 and about how it's going to be difficult to nail down the schedules of Maude Apatow, Sydney Sweeney, Zendaya, all these people that now are just doing all of these projects that are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger than something like Euphoria. And that Zendaya and everybody, they'll always make time for it, but it's having that problem like Stranger Things, where the more famous and popular the show gets, kind of the more thinly stretched your cast can sometimes get, just because they're in so many other things. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Next up, kind of the last two things we want to talk about before we go on to some of these Marvel movies getting shuffled around again, is that Glass Onion, aka Knives Out 2, is actually going to be the first Netflix kind of semi-wide release Netflix film in cinemas. It's going to 600 theaters in a very limited release for 1 week. But the interesting thing is it's going to be on Thanksgiving, whereas the actual movie doesn't go on Netflix until Christmas Day. So theaters and cinemas are going to be able to see this movie over a month early, but only for 1 week only. So what are your kind of thoughts on this? And then we can see RianJohnson tweeted about it as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Also, if I recall correctly, movies need to have at least a week run in theaters, correct, to be nominated for Academy Awards. I believe it's something like that, like a week or longer, whatever.
Yeah.
So, that's probably one reason, but at the same time, this is a way for Netflix to make some money. You know, they don't usually release their movies, I feel like, in theaters. So this is a good way for them to recoup some of the cost, you know, they spent on RianJohnson and Daniel Craig. I think it was for, what was it, like $600 million each or whatever.
Yeah, it was huge. It was a huge.
It was
deal.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah.
I
think it was 400 million overall for split amongst like Daniel Craig, Ryan, and the rights to the story. I think it was something like that.
I am a little surprised that I guess I'm not surprised that it's only a week, because you still want people to go to Netflix and watch it. But at the same time, why wouldn't you just do it? I guess if you do it closer to the Netflix release date, then people will be like, well, I'll just wait the extra, few days.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think it probably is. They go, well, what's something that A, would be super cool, and also is going to be kind of, like you said, you have to kind of entice the people to go out and see it. You have to give them a reason why, and seeing it in a month in advance, I feel like, for me at least, is definitely a good enough reason. But yeah, do you think you're gonna try to make the journey out that week to see it while it's in theaters?
I think so. I gotta rewatch the first. I've only seen it the one time when I saw it in theaters, and I thought it was very good. So I'll have to rewatch the first one again, which that should be. Well, not really. I guess it wouldn't. Why would it be on Netflix? Is it anywhere? Do you know? Is it on anything?
Well,
currently?
I know Netflix was in a mad scramble. I know that Netflix was in a mad scramble to get the rights to the first one before the sequel comes out. So for that exact reason, so that you could do a double feature on there. But yeah, sorry, I was just looking up on Just Watch. Right now, it is not streaming anywhere.
Gotcha. Well,
it is only for PVOD.
I'd say it's
purchase.
Probably worth the buy anyway. You could probably get it on. You could probably get it on Amazon or on Prime Video or whatever for like $5, right? You'd have to imagine.
Yep. Yeah, I think I have it on YouTube or Google Play or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now, I mean, that's another way. At least RianJohnson is getting some money from the first one. I don't know actually if Netflix, if they're purchasing of kind of the franchise, if that means that they get a cut of like those purchases or those video on demands. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be interesting. All right. So, all right, I'll give you a choice, TJ. Which one out of these two do you want to read?
Let's do that one right there.
This one? Go for it.
Yeah. So Adam Sandler, according to Vanity Fair, Adam Sandler is teaming up with the Safdie brothers again on an untitled new film. I think that's great news. Adam Sandler every so often I feel like shows off his acting chops, like that. This shot you're showing me right here of him and what was this movie called?
Hustle.
What was it? Hustle. Good movie.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler was very good in it. He was very good in Uncut Gems. Some would say snubbed of a nomination for an Academy Award. And he's also great in, like Punch Drunk Love. So I think this is great news. And, Safdie brothers always have some, crazy idea or some crazy idea for a movie that, I bet Adam Sandler is probably perfect for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that them reteaming, I think it'd be cool. Hopefully, maybe Adam Sandler is in front of the camera and at the keyboard on it. Maybe he's going to be a writer. Definitely probably a producer at this point. But the main thing that I want to know is, actually, I'm going to check that article again. Is this with A24? Not that I think is a requirement, but I think that is a good sign if they are. It looks like it's not clear yet. So maybe they are just going to be collaborating on an idea and then kind of shopping it around, sounds like. But like I said, either way.
I almost said, what if it was an Uncut Gems sequel? Can't happen.
Oh, prequel, though.
Prequel. Yeah.
There you go. Gem, it could be called. I don't know. Although we kind of already did get the origin story for the gem in the first movie.
We did.
All right, so the last bit of news before we go on to Marvel talk is that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which very quietly, I think I did a TikTok on this, but very quietly, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, this image, which I'll pull up for all you guys here. Oh, nope, that is not there. There you go. That helps if you can see it. This image, along with this title and the official Twitter page of the Planet of the Apes franchise, put out all this stuff about the next movie and all these details, and it just kind of went really quietly. I almost barely even saw it. But yeah, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is going to be the next film in that current, Andy Serkis started with James Franco, then, Jason Clarke, Woody Harrelson run. And reportedly, and as you can see by the pictures here, that this is supposedly 500 years in the future. So not quite up to the original Planet of the Apes, which I believe was, several hundred, if not even more years in the future. Over 1,000 years in the future, I believe. So this is 500 years since the last movie, since War for the Planet of the Apes. What is your, and as of right now, I should let you know too, Andy Serkis is not confirmed to be coming back yet. Obviously, he wouldn't be playing the same character. It's 500 years later, but there is a tradition, in the Planet of the Apes franchise that, the same actors can play multiple apes of multiple generations in those original 60s and 70s movies. They kind of did that all the time. So what are your kind of thoughts on this? And honestly, what were your thoughts on that trilogy? I can't remember or I don't know.
Well, you don't know because I've never seen the whole thing. I've
really? Which ones have you seen?
Another trilogy that I've only seen the first one, and that was a long time ago.
Wow.
I saw it when it came out, I want to say. I don't really remember it that well. So if you told me something happened and it didn't, I'd probably believe you it did. I do wish we'd approve on the naming convention of these movies. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes seems a little like a kind of a mouthful. Maybe we could come up with something a little bit better. But I'd definitely be interested in checking it out. I want to see the 3. I know, people say that's probably maybe not. Is it? Would you say it's maybe Matt Reeves' best work?
Besides the Batman.
Besides Batman.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, Batman. I would say besides Batman. In my opinion, I know he's done other amazing, great things too, but just in my opinion, his 2 best films for me are Dawn and War.
And I know Andy Serkis obviously is amazing in those movies, but
yeah.
I would definitely be looking forward to checking it out. But like I said, I gotta see these first 3 ones first. So they won't link, right? They're not gonna.
I would say, well, this is what I'll say: is in the old movies they did time travel and different time jumps, a couple of different times, and almost always the story did interconnect somehow. Like I said. There was a chunk of the movies that were about the father, Cornelius, and then Caesar, who was his son. But that's kind of where it got weird because people thought that 2008's Rise of the Planet of the Apes was a sequel to like the second movie because in the original movies, an ape named Caesar gets sent back in time to Earth. So people were like, is that the same thing? But technically, all of these movies, except for the 2001 Tim Burton one, all the original movies and all of these movies all exist in the same universe, technically.
Oh, okay.
But real quick here, just because I think this would be fun to clip out later, I got to get your thought on some of these names. Because you said that Kingdom was rough. I had a huge phase in, I believe, my freshman year of high school where I went back and I watched all of the original Planet of the Apes movies, and I was like,
I'm looking to do that too. Just looking through the.
I'll tell you, man, watching them all back to back, it runs the gamut of up and down and up and down, but it is, to me, it's worth it. There is some crazy shit that it's just like, how did this movie get made?
Literally, the only affinity I have to Planet of the Apes is there's a bit in The Simpsons where I think Troy McClure is starting a production of Planet of the Apes, and they start singing, and they're singing Dr. Seuss or something like that.
Oh, like Dr. Seuss, Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
I get that. I have never seen that Simpsons clip, but Dr. Seuss rhymes exactly with Amadeus in that song, so I was like, that's so funny. All right, so I'll tell you, man, it's been so long since I've seen all of these, but these names just get crazier and crazier. So, Planet of the Apes. I want a thumbs up and thumbs down.
Okay.
The name, Planet of the Apes.
Thumbs up. Yeah.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Is that's a thumbs down? All right, I agree. Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Thumbs up. Now, I will tell you, in my rewatch, the first one, the third one, and then the battle for the Planet of the Apes are the best ones, in my opinion. Okay. And as you can see, they bang these movies out. 68, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. All in a row. All right. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. That's a negative. Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Nah, down. I'm going to say down on that one.
Wow. Oh, man.
Wow, there's more than I thought. Jeez.
Well, this is the show that they made. There was a Planet of the Apes show called Planet of the Apes with a ton of episodes. Okay. Then they released all these different shorts, different TV movies, and then here's where it gets really crazy. And might I remind you that I have watched all of this.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Return to the Planet of the Apes. Back. Oh, sorry. I got to get your thumbs up, thumbs downs.
Return is good. Back is down.
Forgotten City of the Planet of the Apes.
Down.
There you go. Farewell to the Planet of the Apes.
Down. What is
Life,
this
Liberty, Life, Liberty, and Pursuit on the Planet of the Apes. Shouldn't it be of? Like Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of the Planet of the Apes. But it's Life, Liberty, Pursuit on the Planet of the Apes. Okay. Treachery and Greed on the Planet of the Apes.
Down.
The documentary Behind the Planet of the Apes. Oh my God.
Thumbs
and
up.
Then that brings us up to 1998, Apes, and then we have the Tim Burton remake, which is only at 5.7 stars. I can agree with that one. And then we'll get these new guys in here too, I guess. Wow, 2011. I thought that was a 2008 movie. Man, that franchise went by quick. Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Thumbs up.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
I'll go thumbs up with that.
I agree. And then War for the Planet of the Apes.
I'll go thumbs up with that too. But they have a long history of not having good. I'll say that.
Yeah. 100%.
Those are some good ones.
Yeah, I honestly think probably just the best three. As much as I love Rise as a movie, I think the best three names are just Planet of the Apes, and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. I think that War for the Planet of the Apes is the best title with a subtitle. Or I guess, what do you even call that? It's not a subtitle. It's just, it's kind of like the Harry Potter thing of it. You know what I mean? But then I don't know. What is it called when a movie title is a sentence? Because that's kind of what the Harry Potter movies are. And I keep saying movies, there are books too, but And Michelle in chat says, "Don't be hating on old school Planet of the Apes." I'm not. I'm just saying. I just wanted to get TJ's thoughts on the names. Like I said, I love those movies, all of them. Roddy McDowell, fantastic. If you do end up watching all of them, you will know that name, Roddy McDowell, like the back of your hand. But yeah, very interesting nonetheless. And I am super excited that we are getting that new movie whenever it does end up coming out. Now, TJ, you want to take us into our last bit of news here before we go into box office? It's a bunch of, or actually, if you want to tell us a little bit about that first movie, about what's going on with that, then we can get into some of these release date changes.
Yeah. So Marvel Studios has delayed a few movies. If you want to, can you actually stay on that? Because
I'm just going to pull up some info about this for you first.
So they've delayed Blade, Avengers Secret Wars, Fantastic Four, and Deadpool 3. So I don't know how much they've moved them all by, but Marvel is shutting down. It came out today that Marvel is shutting down pre-production on Blade to give more time to work out the script as well as find a new director. As you guys know, the director was he left or he was let go something last week, I think it was. So this is where we are right now. I feel like, this movie was announced in 2019, I want to say 2019, and Mahershala Ali is eagerly awaiting to play this character, and I'm sure he's really pushing to try and get the movie in pre-production and ready to go. But it's just really not happening right now.
Especially considering it was supposed to start filming this week.
Yeah. Do you think these delays all correlate with each other because of one movie leading into another by chance?
Yeah, so I got the actual dates finally pulled up for us. So Blade moved, so like you said, it is a direct kind of cascade effect where Blade moves from November of next year to 2024 to September 6th, 2024, which was Deadpool's date that was just announced. So Deadpool gets pushed back to November 8th. Then November 8th was originally Fantastic Four, gets pushed back to February 14th, 2025. Then an untitled Marvel film is moving from February 14th, 2025 to November 7th, 2025, which was the previous date of Avengers Secret Wars. So now Avengers Secret Wars is going to be pushed back almost full 6 months from November 7th to May 1st, back to that traditional Avengers time slot. Now, we also should point out with Avengers Secret Wars, that now means that rather than the original kind of, I think we both agreed on, kind of lofty goal of Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars coming out 4 months apart, they are now back to the Infinity War Endgame of they are a full year apart on basically the same day, a full year apart. So what are your kind of thoughts? What are some of the biggest disappointments of things getting pushed out? Like, what is some of the things that you're most upset about getting pushed further back? Or what are your thoughts on this whole Blade situation? Do you think, is Mahershala going to walk? Is he going to stay on? I don't know, because it's been 3 years and still nothing.
Yeah, no, well, first of all, I'll say, obviously nobody wants any movies to be pushed. Everybody wants everything to go according to schedule, and, all the money that's budgeted to be spent correctly, and we don't go over budget, we make a ton of money. Boom, done. And, these dates seem so far away, I will say. But again, I'm sure it'll be, 2024, 2025 before we know it, and we'll be like, oh, remember when we were waiting for these movies? As far as Blade goes, no, I don't think Mahershala Ali would walk. I think he really, really wants to bring this character back to the screen, because it hasn't. I don't even. When did those Wesley Snipes
the last one was 2003, 90s? I think. Yeah, it was 98, and then yeah.
So no, I don't think he'll walk. I am very intrigued on. I'm not the big. I don't know really much about Blade. I know he hunts vampires, correct? That's about it. I don't know much about the character, and I know
Yeah,
he has some
same.
connection to Dane Whitman as well because he
Mm-hmm.
was at the end of Eternals.
Sure, you're ready for
Um,
that?
yeah, and that's that's about all I know about that character. But no, I think when you have a two-time Oscar winner playing this, wanting to play this character,
Mm-hmm.
I think you do everything you can to keep him happy, and I think they will.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree too. That's the thing, is that it's not only like it's what I want to say. It's not even like, oh, Mahershala is getting frustrated with it, so he's gonna walk.
Mhm.
It's he wants to play this character and bring this character back to the big screen, and Marvel wants and needs, and but more importantly wants him. Like they're
Mhm.
both sides are not gonna let this fall apart. So I do believe it's gonna get worked out. It's gonna hit probably that new date. Like we said, we used to get these release date shuffles. We used to call it on the show, because we literally would happen every 2 to 3 weeks. Like all these huge slates of movies would all get pushed back. This is the first delay for Phase 6. We'll see if there are further delays for it, if maybe Secret Wars and King Dynasty get pushed further or something in the future. But for now, I think it's not much to worry about. I do think we're going to have a ton of shows and everything too to be peppered in between here. We're going to get even more movies than this. We know there's a new Spider-Man movie coming. That was another story I'll throw in here too, that reports are saying that they're looking at July 2024 to
Really?
release
Okay,
the next Spider-Man movie.
When was this reported? I did not see this.
Just today. Just literally
okay.
this afternoon, yeah. And then also, not to be that guy, but oh, look at that. In the Marvel Studios release calendar, there's a gap in July of 2024. We've seen that. That's kind of been the pattern before, is, they leave the gap and then Sony makes the announcement of the movie being official. And then, we get it reinserted just like we saw at D23 and Comic-Con this year. So I don't think the MCU is in trouble with this. I think that if anything, we're seeing a lot of their projects are bouncing back. We have the She-Hulk finale this week, which is going to be crazy. We'll have our Andor and She-Hulk reviews up on the channel this Thursday and this past Friday, which that's another thing too, is we've been seeing, great subscriber growth and view growth and everything. And we want to just thank you guys. And we want to let you know we have been really working hard to get, we have pretty much, we have never missed an episode of our House of the Dragon review. We've been fairly consistent with the She-Hulk reviews. I think we have a review up for every episode, and a review up for every Andor episode. So, we're really trying to put in the work. I've been working a lot of mornings too lately, which is really helping me actually record stuff and do stuff, which is awesome. But we did want to take the time just to thank you guys, because we have seen a lot of uptick in the channel again, and it's always a great time around here. So go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't. We're posting stuff like that all the time, guys. But again, thank you for that. All right. Do you want to talk about this, or was there anything else? Am I missing anything?
No, I think that's it. I don't know if you wanted to go over box office at all real quick, or if you want to skip that right to...
we could go over. I could go over the box office real quick, I guess.
Okay.
Just there's a couple interesting stories, kind of at the top, the middle, and the bottom. Which is number one again was Smile with $18.5 million. Now the huge thing about that is that was only a drop of 18%. So when you're talking about like a horror movie, second week drop, you're usually looking at like a 70%, 60 to 70%, maybe 50%. 18% is amazing. The movie made $22 million last weekend, and now this weekend only made $3.5 million less, which is, unheard of. Then we have Lyle Lyle Crocodile at number 2. That's a new kids movie that's out that made $11.4 million. Then another big story, Amsterdam on an $80 million budget, only bringing in $6.4 million this weekend.
Yeah.
I know.
That's what I want to see, but I didn't get a chance, unfortunately.
Same. Amsterdam just came out.
No, I know. I
get.
I probably won't get a chance.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, because then you look at all these other movies, and frankly, I want to see these more than I want to see Amsterdam, which sucks because if you watch our trailer reaction for it, I was really excited for it when the trailer came out and everything. But what can you say? Big loss on that movie. I'm sure Disney's really not hurting, but very upset with that result this weekend, with Paramount having another win on their hands, like we talked about last week, with the Smile, and I'm sure now we'll see Smile 2, the Smiling, all these things. But Woman King coming in at number 4, which I'm very happy to report, made $5.1 million. So you look at that, Woman King in its 4th week of release, making only $1 million less than a $80 million, star-studded cast ensemble movie. Not a very good sign for that film. And then number 5 is Don't Worry, Darling, coming in again 50% down from last week at $3.5 million. And then the thing at the bottom I just wanted to skip to was Top Gun Maverick, number 10 again, putting it at 20 weeks in the top 10. Which is absolutely insane. And then if you wanted to cheat a little bit, it looks like Avatar at number 6 is in its 669th week of release. There you go. But really, Top Gun still being in the top 10 in its 20th week of release is just crazy. Does anything particular stand out to you there, or are you going to see Smile, or are you going to see Lyle?
Like I said, Smile, I will definitely watch. I've seen the ending on TikTok. People post it. Very creepy. I will say that. You didn't? Have you seen it? Or you said you
no.
didn't?
I'm going to. Yeah, I really want to.
It looks very scary. So I might watch it not in a theater. I'll watch it at home when it comes to. I'm assuming it'll come to Paramount Plus at some point.
Yeah, probably.
Let's see what else. Don't Worry, Darling. How many weeks has that been on? 3.
Yeah.
Total gross $38 million. Not great, honestly.
Let's see if they have budget info yet.
Looks like the worldwide box office was $69 million. It said at the top.
Yep.
And I'm assuming was the budget probably more than that? I have to imagine, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. I would think. I don't know.
I mean, those CGI fetuses, they're not cheap.
Yeah. Budget. Hello. $35 million.
Okay, so it would pass.
So,
right.
yeah, but then you think marketing too. It's probably just now broken even.
Right. So yeah, who knows with that one? But Smile, I'm not really surprised because, people have been talking that movie up. So I'm interested. Same with Barbarian. I'm interested in that movie too. The trailer looked good to me. But again, I'm not going to go to the theater. Watch it at home.
Wow. I mean, look at that. Smile's already at 50 million.
Yeah.
Already. In its second week, and the budget was $8 million. It's already almost at $100 million. Look at that.
Wow. They had a very good marketing campaign, I will say that.
Yes, 100%. I think they really, really did get people out to see this movie. Huge crowds this week, honestly, firsthand. Huge crowds.
And unfortunately, Bros kind of just keeps going down.
Yeah.
At only 8.9 million total gross. I'm assuming that's domestic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and then too, sorry, I'm just the more I look at this, the more I just not only was Smile the number 1, but it also had the highest per theater average too. Wow, look at that. Well, I should say the highest per theater average in wide release. Brought in $5,046, which is nuts. But yeah, I mean, huge box office weekend. Like I said, I think a little bit ago, August was just an absolute dead zone. So it's nice to see things coming out again and starting to bring the box office back. We'll see how Halloween Kills does this upcoming week. Then we got Black Adam the week after that. Then we have gosh, what's that first week of November? I can't remember. But then the week after that, Black Panther already. So we're only 4 weeks away from Black Panther. That's crazy. But yeah, Right. So let's go ahead and switch gears real quick. Are you ready to talk? Not Andor, not She-Hulk. There we go. House of the Dragon, if I can get the right graphic for it. There we go. All right. So, House of the Dragon, episode 8 of House of the Dragon, titled The Lord of the Tides, aired this past Sunday. We have been reviewing the show every single week. TJ, what are your thoughts on episode 8 of House of the Dragon?
This show is so good. Texted you yesterday after I finally watched the episode. I said the Hightower / Targaryen children suck. They suck. We all know that.
I agree.
Episode just a little bit more. But yeah, I thought it was a fantastic episode. Like I said last week, Game of Thrones, I feel like known for their second last episodes being bangers of a season. And this was no different, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Paddy Considine fully deserved Emmy right there. I thought he 100%. Was fantastic.
Would you say his best episode?
Oh, yeah. No doubt. The special effects were also great. I just like to shout out to HBO for the special effects. Thought they looked fantastic as well. And I'm excited to see, what this whole battle is. I know a lot of people so the whole Dance of the Dragons thing, right? That's what it's called. Is just based on a misunderstanding, which is true. I mean, but I'm really happy with how this season is looking like it's going to end. I thought this was probably my favorite episode, I'll say, of the season.
Yeah, I feel like this show just has, favorite episode itis, if you want to call it that. I just, at every opportunity, it's just, oh wow, this episode really just stepped things up. I think this might be my favorite episode. Over and over and over again. Like last week, Driftmark, I was like, wow, so emotional, so many things, so many different, allegiances and, different issues and everything. Vaemond giving that super shady eulogy, and then Damon's little chuckle and everything. Thought last week was just incredible. And then this week, they just, in my eyes, just top it again, which I just increasingly realize I just should not doubt this show because they are just absolutely knocking out of the park at every opportunity. Again, I agree with you. I think that this was easily Paddy Considine's best episode for sure. I thought that what he did as King Viserys in this episode, not only just the acting, but the physical acting, like how he was actually moving, was fantastic. I thought was great. And then also Olivia Cook just in moments, having to pull out those kind of high notes that she has to hit of, kind of insanity and desperateness, but also the quieter moments. And we do see, towards the end here, a possible rekindling of mending of old wounds. But of course, it is not built to last in the Seven Kingdoms, unfortunately.
Built to last about 10 minutes.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and just jump right into full spoilers for this thing. And unfortunately, as we know, this episode was where we said goodbye to King Viserys the First. After 8 fantastic episodes, he got the middle ground of Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark. Robert went out in episode 7, Ned in episode 9, so we lose Viserys in episode 8 of season 1. The ending of this show, man, of this episode, I'll tell you, last week for me, it was emotional, but I said in my quick review that I put out on Sunday, this was the first episode that it actually moved me to tear up. Not like full crying, but in two different places. One was when Damon comes and helps. Well, first of all, that actual scene where the doors swing open and Viserys comes back into the hall to take up the Iron Throne, and just the way that
how about that like, look at Otto just sitting on the throne acting like he's the king,
I know, yeah,
and
absolutely.
Viserys is like, get off my throne. What are you doing? Like,
yeah, he said,
Who do you think you are? You're the hand. You are the hand. And I brought you back, by the way. I dismissed you before, and then I brought you back. Yeah,
only because that guy killed his family.
Yeah, exactly. So, go sit somewhere else. Don't sit on my throne.
Yeah, I mean, he tries to I love to real quick. I will say, I love the way that was shot with just all these different takes, but just this extended sequence of just in real time him walking all the way to the throne. I felt like, and I gotta know if you felt the same way, I felt like watching that scene of him walking through the hall, through everybody, and then trying to go up those steps, and then what happens with the crown happens, which we can even save for, talk about in a minute from now, but just the actual walk, and then him struggling up the steps, I felt like I was him. I felt the come on. I felt the frustration of not being able to just get up there and sit down. You know what I mean? He couldn't even do that. And it was just 4 episodes ago that he was, kicking Damon on the ground and, beating him up and screaming over him and saying did you do this? Whatever. He was just, all of his physicality is just gone. And he's just this shell of who he used to be. And it was just so emotional. But how did you kind of feel about that scene of Viserys' kind of his WrestleMania moment, if you will?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And obviously, the Damon one was also great. In the same scene, but seeing him walk down half, and we don't see that he's lost his eye, correct? Until the dinner,
until
right?
Later.
We don't know that's happened
because he's got a bandage on his head,
right? So that was very kind of startling to me when he walks in with this mask on. Even though I've seen screenshots and stuff like that, I was like, oh, he's really he's just decaying basically.
Yeah, it was way worse than I thought, and of course I saw that picture of him in the mask.
I was like, this. I was like, it literally reminds me. Gus Fring walking out of the room after the bomb's gone off. Basically, that's what it reminded me of. But yeah, I thought that was, again, acting masterclass from Patty Constantine. I thought, like you, I could really feel kind of the struggle to get up the stairs. I literally could just do this however many years ago, 5-10 years ago, whatever it was. And he's been fighting this a long time. He probably should have died maybe 10 years ago.
Honestly.
But he was still kicking. One thing I will say, and I said this to you multiple times. We really focused on what he was drinking this episode. And I know it was what was it called? Seed of the
Milk
poppy,
of the Poppy.
Right, and that is brought up in Game of Thrones, correct, at some point?
Yeah.
Okay, what is that exactly? Because I was like, he's drinking something. I was like, this is not tea.
I think it's just supposed to be ibuprofen.
See,
but it just helps with pain. And then
the way I took his drinking was him drinking that was that when Rhaenyra and Daemon saw what he was drinking, they didn't seem very happy. And the way I took that is he's drinking something that's not necessarily helping him.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely. I think this is what I think. I think that Otto, in his own way, he definitely wants power and control for himself.
Right.
But I think he definitely does love Viserys in a we used to be friends. It's probably not as friendly as obviously they were once. But, I think he genuinely does care for the king. And then I think, obviously, I think Alicent does love him and obviously cares about him. But I do think that she does genuinely love him. But I think it's just Otto and Alicent's answer to it of just keep him in bed and keep him drinking milk of the poppy all day. Keep him there, you know, whatever. So I think you're right. I think it was milk of the poppy, but I think that Damon and Rhaenyra are smelling it, going like, you know, how much of this shit are they having this guy on? Like he's doped out of his mind. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. So I think to them, just walking in and seeing him like that, you know, kind of all drugged up, I think they probably were, you know, what the hell are you doing to this guy? And then Viserys even makes that decision, which, you know, I think it's one of those things that we see in this episode, that he just basically chose that he was ready to let go after having that dinner with everybody together. Because he tells Otto that morning, he says, you know, no, I don't want to drink any today. Like he's just going to live with the pain type of thing, because you can tell he is in a genuine amount of pain. And I liked too that he had all these physical issues, but aside from just struggling and dealing through the pain, his mind was still there. Like his mind was still fully there all the way up till the end. You know, like I said, aside from having the pain or being kind of out of it, like, you know, passing out or something, he was still himself and everything. And I love that they did that as well. What do you think?
No, agreed. I think, you know, we really don't see him kind of totally lose it. I feel like until the end. I feel like that's when he's kind of pretty much gone, and obviously he is gone at the end. But yeah, I think overall, like for the most part throughout the episode, he's pretty sane. I just want to pivot real quick. Well, actually, I don't want to get off like the whole Damon you know.
Well, just go whatever.
One real quick thing I'll say just about this episode that maybe I just would have liked a little bit more of, that, you know, we kind of got, but we didn't get really, like, there wasn't any closure to it. Is Aegon. So he basically, you know, rapes this
servant,
what do they call
handmaiden, handmaiden or whatever,
And, you know, she's given the drink that I'm assuming is basically like a plan B. And then, you know, we see Allison go into his room, yell at him, and then we don't really get him. He doesn't show up again. He doesn't even show up at the dinner later. So
no, he's at the dinner.
Is he?
Yeah.
Which one is he?
He's the one with the shorter hair.
Oh, I think he just looks different.
Well, yeah,
he looks different than. Yeah, he just look that actor looks like way different than what I.
Yeah,
what
that's
I
the
picture
only one.
The other actor being.
I think that both Ty Tennant, who played him in I think the last two episodes, in the last two episodes, I think was fantastic. But I do think that this new guy too, I think that he's really good in the role as well. I just think overall, I think that was probably the most jarring acting change that they've had. Just because he just looks very different. I know that he's not, but it almost feels like Ty Tennant seemed like taller than even this new guy is, as if Aegon shrank, which I don't think he did. But
that is what
he just looks very different.
Like,
yeah. I definitely agree with you on that.
So yeah, and there's a lot. There's a lot of names. It's really hard to keep track of. I like forget how many Targaryens there are.
The whole issue at the end of the episode is because there's 3 Aegons.
Literally, yes. Right, literally. So that was my one thing, but again, if he's at the dinner, that's fine. How about that Damon Targaryen rebirth, I want to say. Just completely flipping probably literally every person that has watched the show. You know, maybe at first kind of being against him, you know, rightfully so, and then just doing this complete 180. And I would say the majority of people, probably everybody, is on that side. What did you think of his role? Yeah, of his role in this whole episode.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Like you said, I think really you got it a little bit in last week's episode with him dealing with the fallout of Lena's death, but really in this past 6 years when he's with Rhaenyra, he's in Dragonstone. He's raising her kids, his kids, their kids together now. They got 7 kids in that. Yeah, they have 7 kids. Jesus. But apparently, according to some reviewers, there are even more kids to come. It's going to be huge. 17 dragons need 17 dragon riders. But I thought that Daemon was fantastic. I think that this episode really showed his maturation as a man and as a character and what he wants to be. I mean, you go back to episode 1, which at this point was 21 years ago. In the timeline, it's been 21 years since, he was banished numero uno. And you just see how hot-headed he was and how much he reveled in the violence of the tournament and all this stuff. And in this, he's ready. And even in last week, Viserys begs him. He says, come back home with me. He says, come back home. Join me, in King's Landing. We'll be together. We can, take this time. And then he has that moment where he's like, I don't need, anything. I don't need it. And he's still got that kind of rebellious, like, I don't need your help, big brother type of thing. And then finally in this episode, when he drops the crown and then Daemon comes up to help him, which Michelle pointed out in the chat. Yeah, they did talk about the crown wasn't even supposed to fall off his head. That was something that happened on one of the takes. And then they just kept going. Yeah, they just kept going with it. Oh, and then they were like, "This is amazing." So then they reshot it and made it like this big dramatic sequence and everything.
Cool.
Which I thought doing that on the fly was crazy, because for me that was one of the best sequences of the whole episode. He goes to take the first step. Kingsguard comes up and no, I don't want it, and then drops the crown and he goes again. You see the sword come up, and you're like, oh, somebody's trying to help him again. And he's like, go. I said no. And then he looks up, and when you see Patty see Matt Smith, it's like, I was just like, oh, damn. And then I think Daemon says something like, come on, like kind of, I'll carry you the rest of the way type of thing. It was a real sad like moment of brotherhood, because it's like he's finally ready to help him, to have this, relationship with him, and it's the last day that they're ever gonna have together. It was just like emotional as hell, and Matt Smith was so good, and obviously Daemon had another very big moment in this episode, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So much to unpack this episode. But to go back to the core of your question, just with Daemon, I just thought that he was fantastic. And I think, too, I really like kind of the opening sequence. We see the mountain on Dragonstone, and he's kind of doing his little, spelunking and cave diving to retrieve eggs, presumably for the coming conflict, to make sure that they can have as many dragons for all their kids as they can. So I thought that was really cool. As well as see him kind of adventuring, but yeah, I thought that Daemon's fantastic. But let's move on to kind of the other half of what this episode was about, which the title suggests, the Lord of the Tides. So basically, this episode came down to Vaemond Valerian challenging Lucerys Valerian, Rhaenyra's son, for the claim to the throne of Driftmark, because our guy, one of our favorites, Corlys, wounded in battle, completely absent from this episode, but his name and his presence was kind of the inciting incident of the entire episode, even though he wasn't in it. So yeah, what were your kind of thoughts on this? And then we obviously get this great opening scene with Rhaenys, showing that she's been kind of the interim ruler on Driftmark. But Vaemond is saying, like, if my brother dies, I'm taking this throne for myself, because I'm not letting those two, abominations take my house, which is, crazy.
Yeah.
But what are your kind of thoughts on all this Vaemond stuff, plotting with Otto and Alicent? So as good as his intentions he says it is, it's all about them getting the power still. Even Rhaenys says to Rhaenyra, if this goes their way, the High Towers will strike their first blow today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that he tried to do it because, as you said, it is his house, it's his name, and at this point, again with everybody except for Viserys, they all know that that's they're technically not blood, but at the same time, I forget who says it. It might be last episode but somebody says like, oh, it's what's his name? Who's the main ruler? Who's his brother? Sorry,
Corlys.
Corlys. Yeah, I think Corlys says that nobody remembers blood; they remember names.
Yeah, great line.
And I think that really showed again in this episode. His brother's trying to say like, hey, they're not blood, but at the end of the day, it's that's not what we're remembering. And again, everybody knows that they're not blood, but it doesn't matter. And I don't know about you, but did your jaw just drop at that moment in
when what happens
in the throne room? Yeah, when that happens.
Let's talk about let's back it up to the moments before, because this guy, let me see if I can get the shot of him.
That was a great scene.
Yeah, there he is. That's all right. We're going to build up to that because I just love that image. Yeah, so you get Vaemond kind of stating his case, as we talked about earlier. Otto is going to sit the throne and clearly throw it in Vaemond's favor. They met up, shadily beforehand and everything. But then we get the epic entrance. Viserys says, I'll sit the throne today. Comes to Rhaenyra's aid one more time. Blah, 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 blah. Gets to Vaemond's testimony time. And basically, he realizes that with Viserys sitting on the throne, he's done. He's got no shot. Viserys is not going to take it away from Lucerys. We're still wondering, what is Rhaenys going to do? Because she tells Rhaenyra, Rhaenyra says, hey, back me up, back my kid up, and I'll wed my sons to your granddaughters. That way, whatever offspring they have, they're going to be Valyrian regardless. You know what I mean? That's the other thing, too, is that, sure,
that's
Luke
true,
and Jace
nice little loophole
are
there.
not. Yeah, Luke and Jace are not Valyrian. We know that, but, like Corlys says, blood, or, names over blood. But either way, actual Valyrian blood will be in their children. So, like you said, nice little loophole there. But we still don't know where she's going to land on this. So Vaemond is going, kind of off about this whole thing because he realizes that he's kind of lost. And Daemon just has this great look when Vaemond just kind of looks over and snaps at, Rhaenyra, and Daemon just goes, say it. Just goes, say it. Does the little chin nod. And then, I gotta find his name. I think it's Will Stanton, that plays Vaemond. Oh gosh, I gotta get his name because he was just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it doesn't have his name on there, but Will Johnson. There you go. He just absolutely went for it today and just unleashes this. Her children are bastards. Just screams, and then he follows it up. That as if that wasn't bad enough. He follows it up with, and she is a whore. And it was just insane. And now I gotta pull this picture up for you guys, because this guy, my guy, is on death's door, and he popped up to defend his daughter. He pulled out that knife, and he said, I will cut your goddamn tongue out if you, like, and then the camera cuts back to Vaemond, and then Vaemond's head is no more, and it reveals Daemon is standing behind him and has just absolutely sliced Vaemond's head clean off. Well, actually, right above the tongue.
Right above, yeah.
Yeah, Viserys says, I'll have your tongue for that. And then Daemon goes, he can keep his tongue, puts the sword back in. Absolutely incredible moment. But yeah, we talked a little bit about it, but what was your reaction? What was just your thought to that absolutely insane moment.
I mean, when he said those two things, I was like, oh, like, I can't believe he just said that, like, right in front of Harris. And then when he was killed, my jaw dropped. I was like, I did
Just
not
so
see
quick.
that come.
I had
Just
no
with
idea.
That brutality too.
Yeah.
Like they show him getting his head chopped in half. I was like, oh my gosh. And even when after that scene, they go when they're like preparing the body and they're showing the body with like the whole body and then the head,
the space, and then the head.
Space. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, jeez.
So graphic.
But yeah, I was my jaw dropped. I was like, this is Game of Thrones. This is exactly what this show is supposed to be.
And then later at the end of the episode, Alicent's little prayer before the dinner, she says, and may the stranger take Vaemon's, soul, or and it just cuts to Daemon, and he's just like, like, it's literally like been 6 hours since he decapitated this guy, and he's just laughing about it to himself. Like, once again, by the way, another murder done in front of a lot of people, just seemingly with no consequences. We had Kristen Cole killing Joffrey a few weeks back, and now he's the seems to be the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. And now we have Daemon just cutting down a Lord of the Realm. Actually, you know what? No, screw Vaemond. He was not a Lord. Corlys is still the Lord, so Vaemond's nobody.
I'm assuming they figure Corlys is dead, right? Like he's probably...
I think he was still. I think what they said was that he was still on a boat back from the Stepstones. Right. So I think they said that the Maesters are with him. So I will say the vibe I picked up from another review I listened to who had read the books, they didn't spoil anything, but it sounds like my guess is he will survive. Because I think that if he was gonna die, I think they would have told us in this episode. Like, I don't think they're gonna be like, the next week's episode is just gonna be like, the king is dead. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Oh, Corlys died. You know what I mean? Like, I think it'll be, if they didn't tell us in this episode, I think it's probably gonna be that he's gonna maybe come back in the finale or something. Or I could be totally wrong. Once again, I had no idea that this was gonna be when Viserys was gonna go. I had no idea about Harwin Strong. I'm trying to stay as in the dark on these things as possible. Other than Rhaenyra's fate, which Joffrey Baratheon lovingly fully spoils in season 4, which is, was great. Trying to block that out of my memory still, but whatever.
Thanks, Joffrey.
Exactly. But absolutely incredible episode for me. And then again, the dinner scene and then the end scene and his death, all of which we've, talked about. But any other little moments or anything you want to talk about before we wrap up? Or anything I'm forgetting?
One quick question. Who was who's the one girl that like stands up and says in the dinner scene? Who's the one like blonde girl that stands up? I feel like I've never seen
Helena.
her before.
That's Alicent and Viserys' daughter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was like
Aegon's,
she like stood up. I was like,
Aegon's sister and wife.
Gotcha. And one other thing I'll say is I did like the back and forth between the kids. Obviously, Aemond's still very butthurt about him losing his eye. I understand.
Absolutely.
I get it.
Did you catch it before it popped off the roasted pig?
I saw that on TikTok.
Yeah.
I go, oh, that's a good one. I didn't catch it. I've seen Aemon, Daemon gonna have some sort of face-off. It seems they seem to really be against each other.
Yeah, I really am trying to stay away from things, but I do get that general sense. I've seen a lot of.
They also look similar.
Yeah, I think very much. Like Casterly Talk, which is a great podcast. If anybody wants a Game of Thrones podcast, hosted by Ken Knapsack, and every week he's got different people on and everything, but he talks. Mainly Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, but he is doing Rings of Power as well. But on the episode, he talked about how Aemond, as much as he is against Rhaenyra and Daemon and everything, that he really is basing, you know, a lot of what he wants to be on his idea and perception of Damon, of this, you know, rogue prince badass that we've seen in the earlier episodes. It makes me even think maybe a lot of what we saw in young Damon was to set up seeing those same things in Aemond, because I think that he is a very good, you know, mirror to Damon. We even get a little tiny face-off in this when Damon, you know, steps in front of Jace and Luke, and basically steps to Aemond and is like, yeah, that's right. And Aemond backs off because he's not quite ready to handle Damon just yet. But yeah, I do get the vibe that something's gonna go down with the two of them at some point.
Yeah. Like you said, really solid episode. Excited to see the season finale, and can't wait for season 2. I don't know when that's gonna be. I don't think they've announced you know, when it's going to production or anything, but
yeah, I guess unfortunately, just the way things are, probably 2024. I highly doubt we're gonna get this in 2023, which sucks so much. But if reports are true, maybe we'll get a different Game of Thrones show between now and then. If reports are true, again, still nothing confirmed at all about that show. But when it is confirmed, you will be sure to hear it from us. So guys, that'll do it for our review of episode 8 of House of the Dragon, and that'll do it for this episode of PFNLive as well. Thank you guys again so much for joining us tonight and being a part of the channel and the conversation. We appreciate it as always. Last thing I'll say is, again, thank you guys so much for subscribing. We've seen tremendous growth and views. Thank you guys, too, for checking out all of the clips that we've been doing and our movie reviews. TJ's Blonde review is at almost 70 views. My Bros review is at almost 50. Normally, our review snippets only get, you know, very minimal views, so those are great numbers for our reviews. And then, again, thank you guys so much, of course, always for checking out our trailer reactions. But yeah, make sure to go ahead and follow us as well at the official PFN on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok, where we are posting all the time. Till then, guys, that'll do it for me. I've been one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I've been another host, TJ Cornwell. Thank you for watching. Please follow us on our social media channels. Check out our reviews on the channel as well clip outs that should be posted very soon from this episode of PFN Live. And we will catch you next time.
Boom.